Hear him out. Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to Hear Him Out. Our guest for today is the relationship manager of Shopee, Louie Lagon. So, welcome to the show, Louie.
Hi, Jeff. Happy to be here and thanks for having me.
Hi. It's so nice to have you. So, how has life in quarantine been for you?
It's been, it's been pretty interesting actually. I've had a lot of time to focus on my work from home setup since, I work from home since for the past few months now.
Mhm.
And it's been interesting, trying to optimize everything, my space, and really look for stuff to buy online, like we all do.
Of course, of course. And buying stuff online is just something we all do in this crazy quarantine.
For
And I
sure.
guess one of the things that I actually look forward to, uh, especially now that we're not doing much at home. I mean, working from home, but that's pretty much it. Are these big sales like the 7/7, 8/8, 9/9, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, our 11/11 sale is coming up, and it's, I think, the biggest, if not one of the biggest sales that we have all year.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because we're recording this at the 31st of October right now, so the 11/11 sale is coming up. And I'm just curious now. I mean, this idea of the double digit sale isn't unique to the Philippines, right? So where did the idea initially come from? Could you tell us about that?
I honestly don't know much about where it came from,
Uh
but
huh.
what I know for sure is in the Philippines, I think we did it first. So I
Oh, so
think
Shopee
that's
did
the
it
more
first.
important thing to highlight. Yeah.
Okay,
I
okay.
guess I guess it just clicked since people started looking forward to it, whether or not there was an occasion. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess it kind of stuck.
Speaking of things that stuck, you know what stuck with me? The one of the things that I see is the Jose Marie Chan.
Oh yeah,
There was a time
yeah,
when he was doing the double digit sales. Yeah.
yeah. He was our endorser last year, and I think we got him again for the Christmas sale.
So what's your favorite part of these big 1 day sales?
I think the hype that surrounds it really brings up the expectation that you can really get good deals, which is true. This is really one of the best times to get those good deals, from shops that you want to buy from. So a lot of people end up waiting for this moment or even make impulse purchases on the day itself. For example, when 11/11 strikes, most likely by midnight palang, there'll be so many people on the platform already waiting to buy because of course stocks are limited and people want to be able to score the good deals, before anyone else.
Yeah, but even before the actual sale, the people are already putting things in their cart. No,
Yeah, yeah,
they cart their things, and when the day hits, they just purchase immediately.
yeah, for sure. A lot of people want to watch the prices go down, so I think
Uh huh.
it happens on every platform where we really expect people to start filling up their carts, which is a good sign actually.
And being in me working in Shopee rather, you see the different types of purchases people make in these big sales. And I'm
Mhm.
just curious, what are the popular purchases during these 1 day sales?
I think the most popular for my category would have to be mobile phones. There are a lot of cheap smartphones that have been released lately, and they're actually not bad at all. So a lot of people have been, that's been probably our number one product. And aside from that, accessories to go with those phones, and really mostly mobiles related.
So mobile phones and the accessories that go along with these different phones.
Yeah, so it's cases, screen protectors,
Mm-hmm.
maybe pop sockets, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even the cheap stuff that you can use to make your phones like look good, or
Yeah.
you know
Okay. And could you tell me what will you be buying this 11/11 sale?
I actually don't know. I mean, in the past double sales, I think I've bought too much to the point
Yeah.
that I'm actually having a hard time thinking about what I'm gonna buy next. But I feel like when the time comes, I'll have another list.
Yeah, I agree. Like right now, I don't know what I'm gonna buy because from the last few sales, I bought so much. So I don't know what I'm gonna get yet either. So we'll see. I guess.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I also like looking through our flash sale section. Yeah, that's actually one of the most popular parts of the platform because it's where you can get deals that'll go away in like what, 3 hours maybe. Really good for impulse purchases.
True. Okay, so speaking of these impulse sale purchases and big sales, I'm sure there are different techniques to maximize these discounts and make the most of the 1 day sale. No, could you speak of some techniques or some hacks? I don't know, to maximize these 1 day sales for customers who like to buy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Shopee, I think one of the things that really makes the platform popular is the fact that you can do a lot of things to end up saving much more than you planned. We have, vouchers, free shipping vouchers, cashback vouchers. So I guess my tip for people who want to buy some stuff, whether it's on 11/11 or any regular day, is to really watch out for those coupons which pop up randomly.
Mm-hmm.
Explore the platform, see what kind of benefits each shop offers, because you can find vouchers, in almost any part of the platform. It can
Mm-hmm.
be in the shop that you want to buy from. It can be in the flash sale corner. It can be, anywhere. So, by the way, when it comes to 11/11 sales, we get a family and friends voucher. So I usually share it, on my Instagram.
Oh, I
So it's,
see.
it's, it's a small discount, but it makes a big difference then.
Okay, so there's a family and friend sort of discount voucher too.
Yeah, it's like a discount code which you have to enter. Then you get this like nice voucher. So I guess, save a couple of $100. Not
Uh,
bad.
yeah, I mean, you get to save, diba? Right?
Hmm.
Okay, so I have another question in mind. Are
Sure.
these 1 day sales really the best time to buy?
I would say yes and no. Yes, because I think the expectation both on the buyer and seller end is really the fact that you're going to really expect a lot of purchases. So if you were to be in the perspective of sellers, that's when you'd really want to push your discounts, your promotions, your
Mhm.
new products. But at the same time, I think the nature of the platform is really designed to give you an opportunity to get a good deal, even if it's not, one of the popular days.
That's actually interesting because I always thought that whenever the double digit sales are there, you just buy all out on that day.
We actually celebrate quite a number of days because we really try to find days worth celebrating, whether it's paydays, long
Yeah.
weekends. Those are really times when people end up buying more. So
Mm-hmm.
those are a lot of there are a lot of opportunities as well in a month that you can like find good deals talaga.
Mm-hmm. And just to backtrack a bit, you have these sales every month from January to December. So it's one,
Mhm.
two, two, three, three, all the way
Yeah, yeah,
January to December, all year round.
yep.
Okay, okay. I want to jump to something a little bit more personal to you. I mean, yeah, we've talked about the sales, and it's super fascinating to learn these hacks and tips, especially finding these coupons and vouchers on the
Mhm.
platform, no? But your line of work in Shopee deals with technology, all right?
Yes.
So, from what I know, you're a tech enthusiast, and I'm just curious now, where does this whole interest or enthusiasm for technology come from?
So funnily enough, I started getting into tech right after I switched from using an iPhone to an Android for the very first time. It was I think from an iPhone 5 to one of the like, Samsung Galaxy S7s, I think. And that was the moment I realized just how much potential there was for tech that could fit in the palm of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the first time I experienced, things like fast charging, an actual curved display, even home screen widgets. And that was like 3 years before Apple released theirs, only now, right?
Right.
The possibilities even back then were endless. I mean, I was using my phone as a remote. I could control airport TVs, random air conditioners, because it had this IR blaster, which was super useful. Yeah, it's those kinds of things you don't really think you need,
Yeah.
but don't mind having it all once you already have it until eventually you kind of get used to it. And I guess if you think about it, that's exactly how the iPhone was introduced, right? Like that's
Mhm.
how it became popular.
So I guess what you're trying to say is all these little tidbits of functional things put together that sort of intrigued you with the whole tech scene, right?
Yeah, it really started from what I already had. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
try to look for, the latest thing. I think that's a good starting point. Try to look at the tech you own
Mm-hmm.
and try to see, how you can maximize that. And it was really, really like it was really fun.
Right, right. And I think that's something nice to remember. Like, work with the tech you have and you really just maximize what you have, you really.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And since it is still October, it is the last day of October actually. Uh, we have Techtober, and that's a whole. I mean, we release a lot. They release a lot of different new things in October, right?
Yes.
Could you tell me some of the biggest releases this month?
Okay, so Techtober is really known for being that month. It's like Christmas in the tech world. It's
Yes.
when the newest phones, not just phones actually. So the highlight of this Techtober, I guess everyone knows already, is the iPhone 12.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just release one; they released four models.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool features behind it actually. But aside from the iPhone, there are lots of other phones that released that maybe not everyone noticed, like the OnePlus 80, the Pixel 5, and those phones, I feel like they deserve much more attention because they really have very interesting, like cutting edge tech that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people should kind of start taking notice of. Aside from phones, there's of course the PS5, which we've been looking forward to for years,
All right.
and yeah, so mostly phones actually.
Okay, when it comes to say smartphones, because there are a lot of different. I mean, phones that came out, right? The Pixel 5, the iPhone 12. What has the trend been in significant bump ups?
I think from what I've seen, it's really about trying to get the best numbers. To give an example, the OnePlus 8T that just released, I think days after the iPhone did,
Uh huh.
it has a 144 hertz display. And for people who aren't familiar with the number of hertz your screen has, it's
Mm-hmm.
basically the refresh rate. So if you're using an iPhone right now, your screen refreshes at the rate of 60 hertz.
Okay.
And that basically means every second your screen changes like the image 60 times. So for it to become 144 hertz, it means the screen's faster, like more than two times smoother than the phones we normally use now. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty interesting if you actually get to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also really, really fast charging. Like the OnePlus can charge at a speed of 65 watts, and that's like my laptop speed already. So in 30 minutes, I think you could get a full charge, which we never thought was possible before. So it's really stuff like that, bigger numbers, really impressive, kind of geeky stuff. But once you
Mm-hmm.
get to actually notice it, like in your hands,
Yeah.
it's quite impressive.
Yeah, but it's geeky stuff like this that people tend to, oh, it's just geeky stuff. But these are the things that make their life so much more convenient.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons why the iPhone still remains to be one of the most popular choices because they don't prioritize getting into the geeky specs that a lot of people don't really want to like talk about.
Uh huh.
It's more of trying to get it right instead of getting it first.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, a lot of the iPhone specs, if you really look into it, are behind. But when they do things, they really do it like better than anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Talking about, let's say, Apple, the iPhone. You said that they don't, yeah, like you said, they don't have, they don't try to compete with all the other new features. So, what would you say is new then for, let's say, the iPhone 12? What makes it so special then?
Okay, so if you're one of the people who stayed up at until 2 a.m. when they announced the new iPhone,
Yeah.
you notice one thing that they emphasized more than anything else in the entire launch, which is 5G. I think it's been mentioned probably like a billion times
Yes. Okay.
in the launch. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the things that they wanted to highlight. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk a bit about 5G and put it in the context of the Philippines, because obviously, even with 4G LTE, like it's not something that we're definitely proud of. It's not the fastest LTE in the world.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it.
What's going to happen with 5G, right? To put it into context, even in the States, it's not something that is widely available. 5G is something that you'd have to be right next to be able to experience the speed. So think of it as if you have a 5G antenna on a street corner and then you just walk one block away and then turn right, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
lose the signal. So that's how sensitive 5G is. And
Mm-hmm.
try to imagine what kind of 5G we would have in the Philippines, like with how unorganized our streets are. So it's definitely something that is still a bit far fetched for us.
Yeah.
But I think Marquez Brownlee said this in his iPhone review. Having an iPhone is something that people end up using for, at least 3 years. And I think in 3 years' time, definitely we'll have much more progress with 5G. So I think that's fine. You can buy an iPhone, but not necessarily for 5G. Aside from that, there's also MagSafe. If you've seen those videos where it looks like there's a puck that
Yeah.
sort of attaches to the back of the iPhone, that's actually pretty interesting. That's one of the new things that Apple is introducing right now. So it's a way to
Mhm.
charge your phone, quote unquote, wirelessly. But if you pick it up, the charger kind of stays. So it's technically wired, I would say.
So the MagSafe technology, that is something new that Apple has been bringing into the whole picture, right?
Yep, yep. It's actually something that, because people thought, how the normal standard for non iPhones now is USB C, right?
Yeah.
And even the latest iPad Pro and iPad Air use USB C now. Like they finally gave up the Lightning port.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I'm seeing, given that Apple chose to go the MagSafe way,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they were to ditch the Lightning port, they wouldn't have a port at all. Because I feel like they can stick with MagSafe to charge your phone exclusively.
Uh-huh. But then isn't everyone sort of using USB-C now? Isn't that what the direction is? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that where what most things are going to now, USB-C?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I feel like if Apple were to go that route, the USB C, follow the trend of all the other Android phones,
Yeah.
I feel like it would be fine. But I feel like they are trying to capitalize on faster transfer speeds. When I
Mm-hmm.
say transfer speed, I mean wireless transfer speeds.
Uh-huh.
Because if you think about it, with the speeds that 5G is giving us in the future, it's possible to not have to rely on wires. You know,
Uh-huh.
if we just had faster wireless chargers, it's actually possible. Like that's my prediction for Apple. They
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't go USB C at all and just go fully wireless.
So the end goal is to be entirely wireless. They want to skip the whole USB-C phase and just go straight to the wireless because that's where they want to
Yeah.
be eventually anyway.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very Apple thing to do. They rarely
The
follow the
trends.
trend. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, right. That's true. Okay. So when it comes to current iPhone users, to whom would you recommend, upgrading the iPhone 12,
I mean,
12 Pro
that's an
to?
that's an interesting question actually. I've heard this question a lot,
Mhm.
and I think the answer is generally the same for. So I'm assuming the phone you use is an iPhone, right?
Yes, it is.
Can I ask what model you're using?
I'm using an 8 actually. I
An
haven't
iPhone
upgraded
8.
since the 8. Yeah.
So that's actually one of the phones that you can upgrade to a 12. Because I wouldn't recommend upgrading if you had an 11, like anything later than an 11, like 11, 11 Pro, Pro Max.
Uh-huh.
But if you had an XS, I mean 10, 10s,
Yeah.
8, 8 Plus, and earlier, it's definitely going to be a big leap. Like you're going to definitely see some changes.
Okay, so people using the older side of the iPhones definitely will feel the difference when they make the jump to 12 versus someone who's coming from say 11, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Because the technology back then, I didn't want to go for the whole no home button kind of phone. I
Uh-huh.
was using an 8 Plus before I switched over to Samsung. I'm using a Note 10 Plus now,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to really change it. But when I did, when I skipped all the buttons, it
Mhm.
really made a big difference. So, oh, and just a side plug, it's actually available today on Shopee already. Like you can buy the iPhone 12, 12 Pro. It's actually on the site right now.
All right, so it's available already. So
Yeah,
you could technically buy it on the 1111 if you're lucky
yeah,
enough to
for
get it.
sure. Yeah, it's not even November and we have it already. I think we're the first, so I'm quite proud of that.
And so what are your thoughts on say Apple's move to ship phones without chargers or earphone
Mm,
chargers and
yeah,
earphones.
it's actually pretty funny. I mean, I've seen an ad for Xiaomi.
Uh-huh.
I think this was a few days after Apple, announced that they weren't gonna. they were gonna ship their phones in those like half-sized boxes without the chargers because they quote unquote want to save the environment.
Yes.
So what's weird to me is they tell you they want to save the environment. They tell you that you probably can use your old charger, but the charger that came with your iPhone 8 is a USB A charger, the really small one, right?
Yes. Yes.
And the cable that comes with the iPhone 12 isn't a USB A cable. It's a USB C to Lightning
Hmm.
cable. So it's not so accurate for them to say that you can just use your old charger because, like I said earlier, it wouldn't really make sense if you upgrade from an iPhone 11 to the 12. So
Well.
most likely
Mhm.
the people who are upgrading don't have that charging brick, and Apple conveniently sells the charging brick that they didn't include for like I don't know $40, $20, something like that. So
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of unfair for me. And going back to what I said earlier about Xiaomi, they actually bundled a scooter, like a full electric scooter with their phone, just to like I'd like to think that they wanted to rub it in that not only were they gonna give the phone with a charger, they're gonna throw in a scooter as well. It's pretty big.
Yeah, an entire scooter.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, and also interesting to think about. No, parang in the effort to, I don't know, quote unquote, save the environment, it sort of makes it difficult for people who want to shift into the iPhone 12. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm sure, everyone's gonna buy it again.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, every time there's a new iPhone drops, people just go crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I don't blame them. Even I want to buy one.
And I don't know. There's just something about the way Apple markets their products or how they reveal their products that it just makes it so enticing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right, so I have an interesting question. If someone, I don't know, someone old maybe who is using a Nokia 3310,
I would like the indestructible phone.
yeah, it's known to be indestructible. I mean, it has
Yeah.
some cult status following right now. If they had that and they've been using that all the way to 2020, I don't know how you'd survive, but okay, let's say you're using that and they want to buy their first smartphone. What brand and model would you recommend to them?
First of all, I guess I'd like to congratulate them for,
Putting
um,
up with it.
yeah, putting up with that kind of phone when everyone else, stepped into the future like we all did. But like what I would seriously recommend is to get an iPhone. I mean,
You recommend an iPhone. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm an Android user, but in the spirit of fairness, although I have my biases,
Okay.
I feel like an iPhone would be a more seamless transfer because it's essentially foolproof. I mean, everything you need is neatly presented. There's not much things you can do. Not like an Android phone, you can change your icons, your layout. It's the same way I'd recommend people who aren't that experienced with computers to go for a Mac instead of a PC. It
Okay.
really depends on the person. So I'm trying to look for, the perspective of the end user, right?
Right, right, right. So you'd say if someone, because I might actually gonna ask you about if someone were to buy their first laptop, what would you recommend? But then since you said Mac, an Apple computer, you would say that if it comes to say, that seamless transition into something newer for the very first time, you'd actually recommend Apple. Is that right?
Yes, of course, if the budget would allow, because you know naman how Apple has their Apple tax. If you
Yes.
just look at the specs, it's not supposed to cost as much as it does.
Uh huh.
But it's Apple. I mean, it's the brand.
Yes, you are paying for the brand
Yeah.
definitely.
Actually, the first laptop I bought, with my own money after I graduated
Mm-hmm.
was a Windows laptop. I've been an Apple MacBook Pro user since I could remember,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never been happier, honestly.
With the Windows right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
What would you say are some things that you find easier now that you're Windows that you couldn't previously do on a Mac?
When I was using a Mac, I still do, by the way, but not
Yeah.
as much. There were a lot of things that were limiting, in the sense that I think I already went beyond the need for the simplicity. I kind
Mm-hmm.
of wanted to do more things with multitasking, running programs that can't really operate on the Mac OS platform.
Hmm.
And I guess having a Windows system really opens up more possibilities. Of course, more risks as well. It's more susceptible to viruses, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But if you know what you're getting into, Windows is really the best system to use.
Right. And I guess with what you said too, it really depends on the end user. Like, what are you going to be using the device for, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if it's
yeah.
just an everyday, like, you're gonna be typing documents. I mean, you could make do with a Mac, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I stray away from, people who want to ask, what's the best? Like, what's the best phone? What's the best laptop? What's
Hmm.
the best OS?
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on you and what you need. I
Yeah.
mean, I could say that, my phone is probably the best phone that I've ever used,
Hmm.
but it's based on my needs. Like, I use my phone probably an unhealthy amount in the day. So I need the battery life, I need all of those things that maybe not a lot of people would end up wanting, right?
Right. And I guess, yeah, I mean, that's a nice way of looking at it. I mean, because having the best thing is very relative. It's very much relative.
Hmm.
It actually depends on what you're going to be using these things for, what your needs are, and what sort of work you're going to be doing on said device, I guess.
Yeah. And that's why I have so much respect for tech YouTubers. The fact
Hmm.
that they have, all the access in the world to all these latest phones, technology. Sometimes they don't even have to pay for these things, and they get to review them and actually tell us not to buy certain products because they feel like it's not for everyone.
Oh
So
yeah.
I really respect, that they can acknowledge different people's perspectives. So I think we should all like try to be like that.
Do you have a favorite tech YouTuber?
Yeah, I really like MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee. He's probably the top tech YouTuber, so it's kind of mainstream, but
Hmm.
there's something about the way he talks about tech. It's really casual, but so informative, so entertaining. So I really trust his reviews more than anyone else, basically.
Okay. Or what about, like, say, websites that you look for to do your research so that people can be more informed when they make their purchases or research on different gadgets?
For websites, I wouldn't point a specific one,
Hmm.
but I would probably give the tip of if you want to find a specific phone to suit your needs, try to learn to understand the specs. It would probably involve getting a bit geeky, like trying to know the terminologies. But
Hmm.
once you understand that, you don't need to rely on people like me or Marquez Brownlee or any other famous person on YouTube to tell you what you have to get.
Yeah.
You can really do it on your own because the info's out there. The tech
Hmm.
specs are all out there.
Right. It's just a matter of putting in the effort to actually understanding what these things mean. No.
Yeah, you can do side by side comparisons, no problem, because you can compare things like storage, RAM, camera specs, things like that. And it actually becomes quite easy to find the phone for you.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel about the direction or the expectations of gadgets in, say, the next 5-10 years for smartphones, TVs, smart appliances, and things like that?
I feel like definitely it's going to involve being connected with each other more than ever before.
Uh huh.
I mentioned one of the exciting things about Techtober was the PS5, right? But actually, if you were just to upgrade from a PS4 to a PS5, you wouldn't just think of the PS5. You'd actually have to consider upgrading your TV as well because the PS5 would, would perform like 120 frames per second at a 4K resolution. And how many of us have 4K or 8K TVs, which cost like anywhere from 200K to probably a million, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be increasingly more relevant for you to consider how these gadgets work side by side with each other. So
Hmm.
definitely that's going to be the trend in the future.
So it's the seamless connectivity between one gadget from the other, you'd say.
Yes, yes. And
Hmm.
actually even smart home tech is becoming more popular lately. Like I've had my fair share of purchases, because we've all been in quarantine, we've all been in our houses. So I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people has had the time to really look into how they can optimize their smart homes and make it even cooler.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because you're gonna be spending so much time at home. You'd rather make the time at home easier.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, it's been fun trying to turn, quote unquote, dumb appliances smart. You can control them with your voice or your phone. It's pretty cool. You should try
Hmm.
it, actually.
Like the lights, you can adjust the lights through your phone and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you have like, I don't know. I know Alexa is like a home thing. Do you have something like that at home?
I do. I do. I actually have one right here. I'm not going to say the name because I might trigger the assistant, but I
Right.
actually have
Okay.
quite a number of smart home tech like in my bedroom right now. I have the assistant. I have smart plugs, smart lights. What else? I'm just looking around my room right now. Yeah, I have a smart like remote controller that could turn on my aircon, my fan, stuff like that. It's really interesting to sort of set these things up.
And what's the experience like been for you having all these smart things?
It's actually pretty fun. I mean, there's that aspect of getting to save electricity. Like you can tell your lights to turn off when you're not in the room. You
Hmm.
can um, do stuff like cool your room down or turn the aircon off even before you wake up. So, a lot of interesting possibilities that definitely will become more frequent in more houses in the future.
Oh yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing that in a lot more homes now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to know, you are very much updated with the latest gadgets and tech advancements, as seen by the different things that you have in your house, in your room right now, right?
Hmm, hmm.
But one thing I find very, very interesting is that you like to keep with old school photography with film, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
So why is that so? Why do you stick to film? Because personally, I use a DSLR, and it's been so convenient. I haven't shifted to mirrorless. I still keep the DSLR, but why you
Mhm.
keep with film?
I actually use a DSLR and a mirrorless as well.
Hmm.
But I feel like, in the same way that our generation's tech, it's always about getting the latest features. The tech behind old cameras is actually pretty impressive and underrated, in my opinion.
Hmm.
'Cause it's this type of tech that soon got impractical to sustain because these were made like with like metal, aluminum, like more expensive kind of materials that ended up not being so practical because now we can use like plastics, and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if I could compare it to something, I'd probably compare it to like, how luxury watches like the Rolexes of the world, there's
Hmm.
a reason why we still price them maybe 10 to 100 times more than the latest Apple Watch, right?
Yeah.
It's the I'd still call it tech because it's something that is still relevant until today and it still works, right?
Hmm.
The same way film cameras from the 60s to the 90s still work perfectly.
Definitely.
So I feel like it's tech like that we can really admire because it found a way to stay relevant
Hmm.
despite the iPhone 5 being practically extinct today. I really admire the fact that the tech behind cameras, even if I'm not sure if I can call it tech, is still something worth using today.
Yeah, because the tech has been tested against time, and it still stands. It's still there. So
Yeah, yeah,
definitely respect to that.
yeah. And even if it's not about tech, like you only have 24 to 36 chances in a roll of film.
Hmm.
So once that's out, you're basically out of memory, right?
Yeah.
And now cameras can go like you can take thousands of pictures over and over and just edit them at the end of the day. But with film, you really save the best moments for the times that you want to take a picture, actually.
Hmm.
So even if I use the cheapest kinds of film cameras, maybe disposables or point and shoots,
Hmm.
I honestly feel like I've gotten more really good shots from those cameras over my other cameras, which are newer.
Yeah, because like you said, there's only so many shots you can take with a roll of film.
Yeah, yeah, and we have amazing cameras on the iPhone 12, the 12
Hmm.
Pro, the 12 Pro Max, right? We have your triple, quadruple camera bumps,
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But what's funny to me is you're just gonna end up editing those with Instagram or VSCO filters, right? Which essentially are film emulations. So we're trying to still grab that film look even decades past its time.
Hmm.
So I really believe there's a reason why we still chase that kind of authentic, grainy film look that we still try to emulate until today.
Perhaps you could speak more as to what you think are the biggest key differences in shooting in film against digital photography. Apart from, having, the limited number of shots, of course.
Yeah, so definitely there's a learning curve,
Uh-huh.
especially for those who didn't grow up with it, like me.
Uh-huh.
I was probably born at the time when digital cameras were all the rage, so film was slowly being forgotten. So
Mm-hmm.
it's you're always gonna make mistakes in your first few rolls. You're gonna read. You're gonna think, why are my developed photos all blank? So you're gonna open the back thinking that there's something in there when you'd actually be ruining all your
the,
pictures
the whole
because
the
you're
whole
exposing
rule.
it to light.
Yeah.
So that's one of the differences. It's really prone to error. But I think another way of looking at it is it's actually better that way. The fact that you'd have so limited chances to get it right actually makes the ones you get right even more worth it.
Right, because you put a lot more effort into getting the ones right because you know there's a limited supply of it. You can't just keep shooting thousands of photos.
Yeah, and if you try like it actually makes you practice even more. So the great photographers of the ones who used film, they don't even need to look at the settings in their camera. They can really just feel out the scene. Because I think from your experience using a DSLR, there are all the ISO settings, aperture,
Mm-hmm.
shutter speed. You can set all of that in your camera,
Yeah.
but there's no such thing as a sample or test picture to see if what you did was right.
No test shot. Mm-hmm.
So you really have to learn how to read it. So that's one of the differences.
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, given the technology now, could you not say practice on say a DSLR, then apply what you've learned to film to make less mistakes? Is that a
Exactly. Yeah.
possibility?
That's actually
Yeah.
what I did. I only had a DSLR. I'm sure a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people now would start with digital cameras.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely like I would recommend that actually.
Yeah, because we have the technology, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to actually get into film, a good place to start might be using DSLRs, learning ISO, learning aperture,
Yeah.
exposure, then applying what you've learned to film. No?
You know what's funny? There's actually cameras that you can buy that are digital, but they don't really display the picture right after you take it.
Ah, okay.
There's this camera from Fujifilm where the screen is like, those vlog cameras where you can flip out the screen.
Yes.
This screen you'd have to flip open to see it's like opposite. You'd have to flip it out to see the image. So
Mm-hmm.
it wants you to sort of go back into that retro vibe where you take pictures but not really review them after.
Yeah.
So sort of interesting for digital cameras to follow the trends back then.
Yeah, and in a way, it sort of makes you feel like, oh, okay, I have to do this right because I can't see what I'm getting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And on the subject of film cameras, where are the best? Let's say people shoot in film. Where are the places where they can actually go to have their shots developed? Like, where do you go to develop your shots?
Yeah, you know what's sad about nowadays? Obviously those cameras aren't being made anymore because everyone's using digital cameras now.
Yeah.
So the common places to find film cameras would be like garage sales, flea markets,
Mm,
and of course, I wouldn't recommend doing that now during the quarantine. But common places would be probably Facebook Marketplace, Carousel. There are
uh-huh.
always film cameras popping up here and there because a lot of us end up finding it in our grandparents' closet.
Mhm.
A lot of stories like that. So there's
Yeah.
always going to be film cameras popping up here and there, and you just have to keep looking.
Uh-huh. What about developing your shots? I mean, where do you have them developed? Like the film.
There used to be a place in Actually, there still is. There are labs that you can go to. If
Mm-hmm.
you know Fujifilm's branches, like the Wonder Photoshop, you can
Uh-huh.
actually give your film rolls there. There's also a film lab called Sunny 16 Lab. It's based in QC.
Mhm.
You can just probably send your rolls there via Grab. And what those places do is they scan your films and then send you the digital copy. So it's
Okay.
conveniently there for you, yeah, via email. Then you can go Instagram it if you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting conversation about tech and the film digital camera
Yeah.
line. Yeah. So just to sort of wrap up everything we've sort of talked about, the thing we ask our guests towards the end of the show is that what is one thing? in your opinion, that listeners have to hear that isn't quite said enough?
Okay. I think everyone probably is always going to hear tech recommendations, whether it's from, like what I said earlier, famous tech YouTubers or even like random people like me.
Yeah.
Uh, but at the end of the day, I think the best tech or the best phone, the best smartwatch, the best device right now
Hmm.
is probably the one you already have. So why not start there? Like that's probably one thing that's not said enough because we're always trying to get the latest tech. But if we can't even figure out what we have on our own,
Hmm.
I don't think we're gonna, end up ever being satisfied.
Right. That's amazing. That's so true. No? Making
Yeah.
sure that you know what you actually have and working what you have first and mastering that before moving on to the next big thing. Right.
Yeah. In the e-commerce world, we really want people to buy the things that they want in the easiest way. And I think knowing what you want doesn't necessarily mean not buying anything anymore,
Yeah.
but being able to buy things and end up not regretting them. That's I think what people are after.
That is true. So Louis, at this point, is there anyone you want to shout out to or say hello?
I guess since I've been talking about my job so much in this podcast, I guess I want to give a shout out along to my team and ELMG and Shopee, to my boss, to my teammates. Just want to say hi to everyone there and thank you if you're actually listening right now. So yeah, that's all.
Okay, so Louis, thank you so much. I really enjoyed and I learned a lot, talking to you about technology and the 1111 sales, vouchers, how to use them. And I'm sure everyone listening did enjoy it too, and I hope they got something out of the conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff. Like I actually enjoyed as well, talking about all these things that I love doing. So thanks for having me.
And thank you for being on the show. It was such a pleasure, and I appreciate the time. No? So, to everyone listening, make sure that you check out the 1111 sale and make smart purchases. Right now, that's all the time we have. This has been Jeff, your host, and this has been Hear Him Out.